Hi, I am Priya Tiliani, the Superintendent of the Everett Public Schools, and I'm very excited to share with you today some of the promising practices that we've been developing and implementing here in our school system. Our students in the Everett Public Schools returned, like they did nationally, with a tremendous amount of learning loss after the pandemic. We as educators knew that we needed to approach instruction differently if we were going to really support the needs that had developed as a result of remote instruction and hybrid instruction from last year. Because state standardized tests were not as reliable and valid as they have been in the past, we decided to really focus on our iReady interim assessment data to determine where our students' strengths lie and where our students' weaknesses were. Our teachers spent a great deal of time looking at that student data and developing intervention groups of students based on the standards where they needed to work the most and where they knew that the students had gaps that they needed to fill. We also created win blocks, or what I need blocks, within the school schedule in order to create the time and space for our educators to be able to implement that targeted instruction. The results have been phenomenal for us, and not only has this demonstrated to us truly wonderful, cohesive, collaborative instructional practices that we want to implement into the future, but it has also resulted in incredible student outcomes. Without further ado, I want to turn it over to our amazing Everett educators in highlighting all of the wonderful work they've done this past year.
Accelerated learning is bringing students up to speed with their grade level peers. So for example, if students have declined in their academic skills over the past couple of years, maybe they're 2 or 3 grade levels behind where they should be, we're going to put programs in place and our interventions in place so we can bring students up to having all of the skills they need at their necessary grade level.
So accelerating learning to me means making sure to provide grade level content, making sure to give students many opportunities to practice their skills and share their learning. Just because they're missing something doesn't mean I need to use a different grade level. I want to make sure I'm teaching them 4th grade curriculum and filling in from there.
Yes. I can think of an example in class that we would use sometimes for math, for example, when we're doing multiplication with fractions, and I want to know that the students understand the process, but not necessarily the multiplication facts, or if they haven't mastered them, I'll give them a multiplication chart while they're doing multiplying fractions, just to make sure that I'm focusing on the skill that we're working on. So that is the support that I would provide for them if I'm not necessarily focusing on their facts, but focusing on the process that we're working on.
So our win blocks are structured by analyzing the iReady data and the Acadians and the Dibbles, and then we're split up into these groups where we've had like leveled math, for example, and we trade off students and determine based on their learning levels where they should be. We had English groups, we have reading groups, we have specific targeted groups for students. So win blocks have proven to be very effective even in increasing the Acadian scores and the Dibbles.
And what we have really appreciated about WinBlock is that it gives the interventionists a time to work with the kids with the needs so that they're not losing out on other academic time in the classroom. It's sort of their time to work with those teachers, and we've seen excellent growth from the students who have had the opportunity to work with the interventionists.
Another way that we structure the win blocks is we also focus on not just the iReady scores, but the actual domains in each topic. So in math, there are certain math domains like number sense, operations, and algebraic equations, and so we also focus on which students are really lacking in those skills, and also focus our win groups by the domains as well.
So in our Tier 1 class, we use a lot of different scaffolds. I know my class has a huge makeup of ELs. So I do a lot of front loading of vocabulary, but I also use sentence frames and stems that support all learners. So I do different versions of those stems or frames to push everyone's vocabulary. We use lots of visuals and word walls and manipulatives, and we try and make them interactive so students can actually walk up and take words off of a word wall that we're currently using. We do a lot of modeling and probably my favorite thing is using anchor charts to make sure they know
Yes.
because I love my
Anchor chart queen.
yes and my scented markers. Lots of types of grouping and lots of collaboration. So in my class, that's a lot of thinking is visible, and they're working together a lot of the time.
I just wanted to add to that I feel like that seems to be a consensus in the majority of our classrooms is the way that they're structured, with a lot of vocabulary, a lot of think, parent, share, and center organization. So I think that that's something that we seem to have in common in the focus in our classrooms.
I think, like we mentioned, we look both at their scores for iReady as well as some other measures, but also at the domains that are created within iReady. So it will give them specific scores for different categories like phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary. So when we're looking at the students whose highest needs are reading, we will also take that data into account when we're trying to figure out how to group the students. We try not to make decisions based on exclusively what we see, so iReady provides us a lot of different categories of evidence that allow us to make instructional groupings that will best meet the needs of the students in front of us.
Just to add on that, we try and make more of a mixed group based on what they need, not these students don't speak English and these students do. It's what does this student need at this moment in time, especially when it comes to like centers or working in small groups. Who needs what at this moment from this lesson?
Making student thinking visible, I even had as a bulletin board. I love the concepts and I love the terminology that goes with it. Even though we've probably already have done these practices forever, it puts a name to them. So things like using wait time, call and all, think, pair, share, turn and talks. What else? Restating to make sure that other kids are listening and, showing what you're saying as is important and I'm actually listening to you. And a great one, comparing thinking. So there's so many great aspects of making thinking visible that make the instruction so much better.
Making thinking visible is one of my favorite things to focus on during class, especially math. An example, when you provide a problem for a student and you have someone come up to the board and show their example, there's probably 2, 3, 4 other ways that students have tried to solve it, right or wrong, whether they get the answer correct or whether they get it incorrect. You can actually see their thinking and you can walk them through it and ask them what made you write that, what made you choose that, and then the students that are sitting there, a lot of them will say, that's what I thought, I didn't think of that. So it allows them to provide what they were thinking in their minds and to show everybody else what was going on in their head, so you can help them work through their problems a little bit better. So that's one of the things we do a lot during instruction. We focus a lot of the making thinking visible during math time too.
A typical day is meeting the students and parents out front of the school as they come in, kicking off with morning announcements and focusing on all of our character education themes, and supporting teachers and walking through classrooms and creating the great culture that we have at our school, so students can feel comfortable in our school and perform well academically.
So something unique that I do in my class is I start each day, this isn't as unique, but with a morning meeting, so just going over the agenda, but also starting with a prefix or suffix or root or base word of the week. So we've done a lot of vocabulary practice this year. They've had a chance to sort of try out different prefixes or suffixes, and now we've moved into roots and base words, so they're able to sort of manipulate the language a little bit more.
That's a great idea with the prefixes. I'm going to have to use that, the prefix and the suffix. We have what's called the job person. So instead of, you're the paper passer, you sweep the floor, this, that, one job person not only leads the line, but does a series, like a snapshot of these problems on the back board. So it'll have the student's name, like today, Esther. It said, Esther asked, and she'll need to know, put a comma, and then quote, she asked a question. There's something up there where she has to do rounding, so rounding a larger number in that process, a synonym, antonym, and a fraction brownie, which you can find the equivalents to. And it's just something unique where it's a snapshot of these little bits that we've learned about, and then the other students participate in editing. After that, the person who's the job person erases everything for the next day, sets it up for the next person, picks a new fraction, picks a new word. So that's something unique that I've stuck with.
I think in the morning, I was always used to doing morning work and worksheets and stuff. So the last few years, I've always started off with morning journals, so they can come in and they don't have a worksheet or necessarily really need to go into any real heavy thinking at the time when they come in, and they can write anything in their journals. But it is interesting to see sometimes what they do write, and you can kind of get an idea of how a student is feeling in the morning or where they might end up during the day in the morning by what they write. But I think it helps with their emotional, your awareness of how their emotional needs are that day. So that's something that, I've been doing for a couple of years in the morning, and I find it very helpful.
So Morgan and I, when we are going about our planning, we start with, we used the model that's in our co-teaching for EL's yellow book. So we start with pre-planning. So we both sort of think about, okay, what's coming up in Reach? What skills are we going to be working on? She's probably thinking, what language do I need to be thinking about with that skill? And then we meet for a planning session together. So I'll say, well, I really want to focus on this skill this week. And she'll say, well, I really want to focus on this language this week or this skill this week. And we sort of make a decision together, what is our lesson for that or for the day or the week going to be looking like. And then after that, we move into post-planning, so we know exactly what we're both needing to do, we're both accountable for, and we're able to prepare separately, but we've planned the core part together. We also are here way too long every day, so we're here very early and here very late every day, and so that's definitely a huge part of why we're able to plan so effectively together.
I like when Morgan comes in as well, and we do the great planning together, and she offers great insight from her background, and lessons can be modified to, appropriately be assessed and leveled for the kids. I have learned so much from Morgan by watching her and I'm serious, the things to apply. You learn things like, oh, this is 6-step vocabulary, but to see it in action and to have her, go through the steps. And now I'm trying to create Google Slides and
Succeeding.
trying with my tutors here from computers, and but going through the process of, here's the word, let's say the word, repeat it 3 times, here are the cognates, here is how the word is used in a sentence. And it's funny because the kids in the class, they know that, oh geez, Ms. Augusto's doing it now, and I'll say, bear with me, this is my slideshow now, I know you've done this with Ms. Myers. So, and they're so in tune to how she does this method, and we just kind of bounce off of each other in class, which is so nice and really shows co-teaching.
Mrs. Valley and I often meet, and it's great that she shares her plans with me electronically. I can add things such as modified spelling lists. We have one list that has like 5 words or 9 words. We also add pictures to help them make a connection with the words, and I learned how to put links on the plans so everyone has access to it in the team, and we work on identifying what needs we need that week for each lesson, and we work great together.
We do.
I think it's like being clear.
Yes.
So I'm the EL teacher, and I get to work with all 3 of these fabulous ladies and Miss Conklin. But we make a point of spending time and finding time throughout the week where we can all sit down as a whole group and in co-teaching pairs to really think through what our lessons need to be and what data we've collected, even if it's just a formative assessment, and that can be something as small as, hey, did you see what so-and-so wrote on their paper for such and such? And then that helps us make decisions with data as a whole when we're doing instructional groupings in a more formal way, but also just for how we're going, what are we going to do the next day? Did they get what we were doing today, or do we need to go back and try again?
I feel like this is key to having a successful group of students and a team. I feel like in order for us to be a collaborative team, we have to not only share ideas and work together, but we also have to be okay with accepting other people's ideas and trying other people's suggestions. So I feel like we're really good at, saying, yes, that's great, or I think maybe you might want to try this. And so I think as a team, we've all been very, not just cooperative, but accepting of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and pushing each other too when we don't know how to do something, or we're afraid to try something, or we're just not afraid to ask each other, I don't know how to do this, or I'm not sure about this, or, you seem stronger in this, can you help me? So I feel like because of that, I feel like, collaboration style is key to having a successful team.
I think that we all know that we all are bringing something really special and important to the table for the students in front of us, and so no one is like, we make sure that everyone's opinion is valued. No one is critiquing or tearing you down. We're all building off of each other, and we're all learning from each other. And I think that's what is really powerful, is that we all value the feedback and opinions, and it makes us stronger.
Yeah, and I'm new to this school, and I'm new to this team, and so I really appreciated that when I came in, it was sort of like, we know that this is what you know. This is what I know. How can we help each other? And even from day one, I have never felt like nervous or anxious. If I need help with something, I know that there are 4 other amazing people who I can ask, who are always willing to help me. If it's an email or a text or even a phone call or a Zoom. I remember one Saturday we Zoomed.
I remember that.
Because we just needed help. And so I think if we weren't able to function as like a group of people who know each other's worth, it wouldn't look like it does.
I think a lot of the success can be attributed to data analysis. Our teachers, our interventionists, our administrators, we all collaborate, we analyze data, we work as teams, we have win groups or what I need groups where students can get exactly what they need based on their levels and domains. We rely heavily with iReady. We look at data analysis from iReady for math and for reading. We use Dibbles scores for understanding the development of our students, and that links to things like first sound fluency, phoneme segmentation, fluency, building all of the basic foundation for phonics and understanding literature. When we look at iReady, we focus on areas of phonics, phonemic awareness, high frequency words, vocabulary, comprehension of informational text, and comprehension of literature. We look at domains mathematically, so we're focusing on numbers and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, data analysis and measurement, along with geometry. So based on how students are doing academically on our, we have beginning of year assessments, middle of year assessments, and end of year assessments. We move students in and out of win groups based on what they need at their levels so they can be successful. We have lots of different challenges along the way. We have incentive programs. We have iReady challenges. We have Whittier School iReady All-Stars, and they get to earn these t-shirts along the way. We've seen a lot of great growth through iReady. We also use something called iExcel in our upper grades. It's just come down to 5th grade, and that can pinpoint specific standards in English language arts, math, science, and social studies. So our teachers in our upper grades really love that, and we've seen tremendous growth with our upper grade level students.
I just think it's great that we were able to all come back in person, because it's helping not only the students but the teachers as well, and it makes it easier to work with each other.
And we need the socialization. So the kids enjoy it. They enjoy being able to be around each other, and it's just, we're back to normalcy. We're able to meet not on Zoom to do collaborative planning or common planning time, but just to, like you said, bounce ideas off of each other and not have someone's camera go out or someone, their microphone is off, and it's just, and it's not just during a certain period of time. So it's like, okay, I need help with partial quotients for the third time. I'm not recalling because I'm new to this grade level. I'm new to this school. So I'll go in and say, Miss Valley, can you just come here a minute again? And the kids are like, what is she doing? But and I love just getting ideas from everybody on the team, and you can't always do that when you're stuck at home doing Zoom.
Yeah.
So this is great being in person.
And I also think just like a sense of community, both within the teachers, like this is our team and we're all, like we all have something to say and something important to add, but also like reintegrating like a sense of community for our students, which is coming back in person. What does that look like? What does it look like to be around people? What do we do when we're around other people? And so really like from the get-go setting those really strong community feelings, and so I know the students are supporting each other too, which is really cool.
I think we all have a similar ideas of how we do that in our classroom, and probably some that are a little bit different than others. I know that in the school we have we focus a lot on the iReady, and so I know we have the iReady All-Stars, and they get the iReady T-shirts for achieving their goals. I also do iReady prizes, so when they get to a certain point or a certain number of hours, or when someone makes a big jump on their iReady minutes, I give out prizes. So I think that just constantly reminding them of what a great job they're doing or how much better they can do is something that I feel like really motivates them.
I know at the beginning of the year, we actually let the students sort of make goals for themselves. And my hope is next year I'll do an even better job at making them track their own data and goals. But, we're learning. But I think that making them really involved in their learning, whether it's, oh, you get this now, great job, we acknowledge your success and growth, now who's someone else who needs help? And they're always willing to go help each other, and that sort of encourages other students to keep working too. So building that community that way.
We also focus a lot on growth mindset. So it's not I can't do it, it's I need more help and I will do it. And then the other thing is I feel like a lot of the students this year celebrate each other's success, which is huge. Like it doesn't have to be all about the one student or another. Like if someone does something great, our class cheers for the other student. And it doesn't even have to be something super exciting. Like they did it, yay! And it's a whole round of applause.
Right.
We get a lot of good English.
Yeah, because we have a lot of ELs, so they know that everybody has their own challenges, and when they've overcome something that's difficult, even if it's not difficult for everybody, that is something worth celebrating.
Yeah.
One thing I do is I have these red folders that go home every other week, and in the folder are any corrected papers or any papers that are worthwhile or interesting that the parents might really want to see, and then they need to bring the folder back with the papers back, and there's a signature page in there. And so that way, over the course of the quarter, the parents can see their work, and I also have it's an acknowledgement that they have seen it by seeing their signature, and it's good for the students to have to be responsible for keeping that connection with their parents and showing them their parents' work, whether it's great or whether they're disappointed in it. So I feel like that's been a really great connection for myself and for the students and their parents.
I do the red folders too, and I totally agree. It holds everyone accountable to know what's going on with their work. And then also using Class Dojo. I probably send way more messages than the parents want, but at least they know someone's on the other end. And trying to use that, so if students are absent for a certain number of days, we try and send a check-in, hey, what's going on? Sometimes we get responses, sometimes we don't, but a lot of the parents do really try and give some sort of response back, so at least they know there's a way to reach us that is really inclusive of everybody.
And the fact that it translates for parents.
And the fact that it translates.
Definitely the win blocks. And when I think of teachers that work hard and they plan their lessons around these win blocks, giving students what they need at their level, they're finding that students love having these data chats with teachers, and they're very self-motivated. So they want to know how well they did. They're very interested in their scores. And when our teachers come up with certain incentives, it makes a great impact on the learning. And we look at things like typical growth and stretch growth. The stretch growth is really some of the key amazing growth, because we're bringing kids up from 2 or 3 grade levels beyond where they started at the beginning of the year. And we're seeing that with a multitude of students. Looking back, like when we first started out, we created a schedule, and this is like a whole building schedule, but we have win blocks at every grade level, kindergarten all the way through grade 8. And that was an emphasis for us as a school. And making sure that we have a variety of teachers in place to pull students and give them what they need at their level is something that we're very, very serious about, and something that's made a huge impact on student improvement. We also have data analysis grids where we're looking at the DIBELS, the iReady, and we have strengths, concerns, percentages of growth, how many students are at benchmark, how many students have advanced to the next win block, and action plans and next steps. So it's a very thorough process. It's also linked to our school improvement plan and our budgetary requests. So there's an awful lot that we do to bring kids up to speed with where they need to be. And my kudos to the teachers for how hard they work with this.
Here at the Whittier School, we focus on, for a professional practice goal, fostering resilient learners. So as a school climate, it's great that we can take steps to help students resolve issues on their own and have positive interactions with families. Also, there's such a sense of community here. I couldn't wait to order Whittier gear so that we could have, I could have the t-shirts, the sweatshirts. Like Mrs. Valley had said, the kids get the iReady All-Star t-shirts. I wanted one of those too. So it's just great because it creates, there's a sense of belonging here, and the students feel that too, where the monthly themes, respect, sportsmanship, they earn these stickers when they show it, so it's like you're caught in the act. Oh, you're showing really great respect towards a friend or towards me. So I just feel like it's a warm, welcoming community here at the Whittier School.
I would also say that co-teaching has contributed to sort of the community feeling. Like, our students know that they have teachers and they have their teachers, but there's more than one of them. So it's sort of like, we are all your teachers. If you need help, we are all here to help you. Whatever you need, you're not limited to one individual who you can go to. Like, yes, they might have a stronger connection with one particular person in the school. That's always going to happen. But at least they know that, they have several teachers and we all get along, and we all have each other's backs, and there's like, no, I asked mom, so I'm going to go ask dad and see if I can get away with it. Like, there's none of that. We're a big community. We're a big family.
Speaking of teachers, talk about your group of teachers that were highlighted in this piece and how they've been so successful with iReady.
Well, here would be the grade 4 team that was specifically highlighted, and they are so passionate about what they do, and the challenges that they have and the data chats that they have with the students. They're so passionate, and I think they're all super kind, but at the same time they're all business, and the kids really gravitate towards that style, and they're always looking for feedback on how they can improve. And it's amazing when you get vignettes like a student saying, we're introducing a new concept in everyday math, but the students say, oh, I learned that on iReady already. And the teachers assign lessons through iReady for homework, that 4th grade team, for reading and math. And it's a minimum of 10 minutes per day for each. But assigning those homework assignments has been a big win for that 4th grade. And let me just pull up. In reading, they had 92% typical growth and 40% stretch growth, which is very good. And in math, they had 88% growth of typical growth, and 52% of the students had the stretch growth to get them where they need to be because they were 2 or 3 years behind. They love the challenges. We have accelerated learning during vacations where students come back to school, and they're so passionate about it. They continue along with all kinds of incentives in the classroom, along with our school-based incentives of iReady All-Stars, which we have for the upcoming April Vacation Challenge as well. So students, even if they don't come back, if they're home, they can still log into their Chromebooks, go on iReady, show the participation that they had and their success rates so they can earn t-shirts. I think it just keeps getting better because we're crafting it and moving it along as we go. And the adjustments that we make are really, we're seeing the dividends for our students because ultimately it's all about student growth. We're looking at data, we're taking it awfully seriously. It all has to do with the students and their academics, and we've been quite impressed. So these WIN groups will continue to evolve, and we make the adjustments per the data analysis, and we're having great success here at the Whittier School as a result.